John Garrity, a structural engineer from Scotland, now resides in Atlanta, Georgia. He's estranged from his wife Allison and is father to their diabetic son, Nathan. Hoping to mend things with his family, John drives back from his work site. They're planning a neighborhood party to watch Clark, an interstellar comet. Unlike usual comets, Clark is a cluster of rock and ice fragments. It's set to be the closest comet Earth has ever seen, even visible in daylight. John arrives home, finding Allison on her treadmill. He knocks on her bedroom door, initiating an awkward talk about Nathan. When Nathan gets home, he's thrilled to see his dad. They chat about Clark, coming from another solar system. Nathan shares how his new insulin pack is much better than injections. John affectionately assures Nathan he'll always be his dad, no matter what. He also tells Nathan he's trying to reconcile with Allison. The next day, they tune into a TV update on Clark. Some large fragments might enter Earth's atmosphere and burn up. John's neighbor, Ed, greets him, confirming their later meetup. Allison sends John to the store for last-minute supplies. En route, John and Nathan spot military jets and Clark in the sky. At the store, John gets a startling automated call from the Department of Homeland Security. His family has been chosen for emergency sheltering. Alarmed and puzzled, they hurry home, passing numerous armored vehicles. Inside, their guests are glued to a live news broadcast. John pulls Allison aside to discuss the automated message. They rejoin everyone, watching the news update. Suddenly, a large comet fragment enters the atmosphere. A loud noise sends John outside, where he sees birds fleeing. A shock wave follows, shattering windows. Contrary to expectations of it landing near Bermuda, the fragment obliterates Tampa. The devastation spreads, with most of Florida affected. As the TV shows shocking scenes, everyone watches in disbelief. John gets another automated presidential alert call, which also appears on their TV. The call instructs them to reach Robins Air Force Base for an evacuation flight, only for his family, with a strict rule of one bag per person. Their neighbors, filled with fear, leave to join their own families. The Garrity family quickly packs, remembering to include Nathan's extra insulin packs. Allison comforts Nathan, who is worried about his grandpa Dale. As they leave, their neighbor Ed warns them about Clark's many fragments due to hit Earth soon, including one that could cause massive destruction. Another neighbor, Deborah, pleads with John to take her daughter, but he drives away, knowing she wouldn't be allowed on the flight. Driving through the town, they see people panicking and stocking up on supplies. John wonders why they were chosen for evacuation, with no clear answers from the authorities. At Robins Air Force Base, heavy traffic blocks their way. John finds a different route, and they continue listening to radio updates. They leave their car and walk towards the gate, but Nathan accidentally leaves his insulin behind. Reaching the crowd at the gate, John shouts to show they were selected. The crowd rushes the gates. A police officer asks for John's ID and barcode, allowing them in with the QR code on John's phone and their wristbands. They realize Nathan's insulin is missing when consolidating their bags. John rushes back to the car to retrieve it, leaving Allison and Nathan to wait for the plane. Allison tries to ensure John can board the same plane when he returns with the insulin, but they're denied access when the soldiers find out about Nathan's diabetes. Allison pleads in vain to board the plane but is led off the base with Nathan. Meanwhile, John, fighting his way through the crowd, manages to get back inside the base just in time. He searches for Allison and Nathan near the plane, calling out for them, but they're nowhere to be seen. His text to Allison doesn't go through. A passenger on the plane, seeing the medicine in John's hands, tells him that his own family member was turned away due to sickness. John realizes his family must have been denied boarding because of Nathan's diabetes. He insists on leaving the plane to find them. Chaos erupts as the crowd outside the base breaks through the security, desperate for salvation. Gunfire accidentally sets off the jet fuel, leading to explosions that destroy several evacuation planes and cause many casualties, though John escapes unharmed. Allison reassures Nathan that John wasn't on any of those planes. John, relieved, learns from a soldier that his family was denied boarding and have left the base. With Nathan's insulin pack empty, Allison tries to calm him. She leaves a note in their car for John, stating they're heading to her father's place in Lexington, Kentucky. Allison and Nathan walk through the town and find a looted store where Allison secures medical supplies, narrowly avoiding gunfire. They ask Ralph and Judy Vento, a couple heading north, for a ride. Ralph agrees to take them as far as Knoxville, Tennessee, and expresses his belief that the rich were favored in the evacuation lottery. Judy notices their wristbands, and Allison explains Nathan's medical condition and their denied plane boarding. John walks through the looted city as panic spreads worldwide, with Clark ominously visible in the night sky. He finds a rooftop party hoping for a better phone signal. His call to Allison is brief and disconnected. Spotting a truck with survivors, John manages to hitch a ride. John finds out from Colin, a young man, that the military is organizing flights from Canada to safe bunkers in Greenland. Colin mentions that selection for evacuation was based on job skills. John shares that he got separated from his wife and son at the military base. While driving north, Ralph reflects on what Allison said. He considers that Nathan might have a better chance with a different family. Stopping the car, Ralph forcefully removes Allison, leaving her on the roadside as Nathan cries out in terror. Judy, upset with Ralph's actions, watches as they drive away, abandoning Allison. In the truck carrying survivors, another person, seeing John's wristband, argues that only US-born citizens should have been chosen. This man, armed with a hammer, attacks John for the wristband. The fight in the truck is chaotic and violent, almost causing a crash. John, after a fierce struggle in the countryside, ends up taking the man's life, only to find Colin dead near the truck. Allison, determined, continues walking along the highway alone. A car with a kind family stops and offers her a lift to Knoxville. Meanwhile, Ralph, Judy, and a terrified Nathan arrive at the evacuation site. Nathan tells a soldier that Ralph and Judy aren't his parents and that he was kidnapped. Unable to prove they're Nathan's parents, Ralph and Judy are arrested. Nathan is taken to a nearby FEMA camp. Allison, riding with the family, jumps out of the car at a traffic jam. She rushes through the crowds to the camp, where a man helps her search for Nathan. After checking several tents, they finally reunite. The medical staff have taken care of Nathan and provided him with a new insulin pump. They offer Allison and Nathan a ride to her father's home in Lexington on a military bus. The next day, John walks through an empty neighborhood. He breaks into a house for food and water and turns on the TV. Various news channels report on global destruction, with a countdown to the final impact. John steals a car and finally arrives at his father-in-law's home. Allison and Nathan haven't arrived at Dale's house, where John is worried. Eventually, Allison and Nathan reach a nearby grocery store. Allison calls the house, and John and Dale pick them up. They return to Dale's house, tired but relieved to be together again. Watching TV updates about Clark, they resign themselves to the likelihood of dying in the impending impact, which is less than a day away. Remembering Colin's information, John suggests they might still catch a flight to Canada to reach the Greenland bunkers. They decide to try. John asks Dale to pack immediately, but Dale chooses to stay, feeling obligated to care for his horse as his wife Mary would have wanted. John apologizes to Dale for past mistakes and vows to do everything to save Allison and Nathan. An aftershock hits, hastening their departure. Dale insists they take his truck, which has a full tank of gas. They bid Dale a final goodbye and leave. During their drive, John and Allison reminisce about their life together, reconnecting emotionally and feeling grateful for their family. As they reach upstate New York, an emergency alert warns of incoming molten debris. Fireballs fall from the sky, causing chaos and destruction. John finds shelter under an overpass and risks his life to help someone from a burning car. When the meteor shower ends, leaving devastation, they continue towards Canada. News reveals that Clark's largest fragment will hit Western Europe, causing tsunamis and deadly winds. The impact will ignite continents, threatening over 75% of life on Earth. At the airport, John drives onto the runway, intercepting a plane. The pilot initially refuses to take more passengers, arguing the plane is full. Allison persuades him to take them. Despite the crowded conditions, other survivors make room for them. On board, they find a moment to rest, thankful for the chance at safety. As their plane nears Greenland, a huge fragment of the comet hits off the coast, sending a shock wave that forces the plane to crash at the base of a mountain in a valley. John checks the cockpit and finds a pilot barely alive, but he soon passes away from his injuries. John informs the other survivors that he spotted a military plane landing about a mile away and leads his family and the others to the nearby airbase. Upon arrival, military staff help them to safety through underground corridors. The family and other survivors reach the safety of the bunkers, embracing as the final moments before the comet's impact approach. As Clark enters the atmosphere and impacts Earth, flashbacks show moments from their lives and happier times with loved ones. The devastation is widespread, with cities like Sydney, Paris, Mexico City, and Chicago shown in ruins. 9 months later, the staff at the Greenland station try to contact other survivors. They slowly open the bunker doors, revealing a drastically altered world outside. Birds flying in the sky suggest the air is breathable and there's no radiation. The survivors await clearance to leave the base. Radio communications across the globe resume, and the survivors are finally given the all-clear to step onto the Earth's surface. An orbital view shows a massive crater from Clark's impact and several smaller craters across the planet. Greenland establishes contact with other surviving stations around the world, everyone grateful to be alive.